LinkedIn just released its top 50 companies to work for in 2023, and Wells Fargo was number 2 on that list. So getting a job there is incredibly competitive. But in today's video, I'm about to make it a lot less competitive for you because I'm going to give you actual interview questions they're going to ask in your interview, and then I'm going to teach you from a recruiter's perspective how to answer them flawlessly. Let's go. Now we're going to start with a really important one, and this one is, why do you want to work for Wells Fargo? This is a critical question because if you can't answer it, if you can't give them a compelling why, you're probably going to get beaten out by a similarly qualified candidate who is really motivated to join the company. The secret to answering this interview question is using the 50-50 rule. Now the 50-50 rule basically states that the first 50% of your answer needs to be about why the company is compelling, intriguing, attractive to you. And the second 50% needs to be about why you're a great fit for the job right now. Why is it the perfect time in your career to doing this? But generally speaking, why is the company attractive? First 50% of your answer. And then the second 50%, why are you a great fit for the role right now? It can be their culture. It can be, recent news articles. It can be talking about what they've done technology-wise. Pick whatever makes sense and is motivating to you. It should be authentic. It should be something you really find interesting. And then talk about why you're a great fit. If you do that, you'll nail it. The next question is, how did you hear about this job? And I always think this is really interesting when recruiters, HR people, and hiring managers ask this. Because what is the point of this question? And for me, when this is being asked, what they're trying to do is get an idea of where you're at in your candidate journey, where your level of interest is, and why you would specifically seek them out. So a good thing to remember here is you want to do a combination of two things. You want to establish leverage by letting them know that you're not necessarily actively looking for a job, but also demonstrate interest, saying they are more of the exception. You're not looking for a job, but when you saw that they had this role, you felt like you had to consider it. Let me give you an example. Well, to be honest, I'm not really looking for a new job. I'm pretty happy where I'm at currently. I have a great team. I've been able to grow in my current role. So I'm pretty content. But I happened to find this role online on LinkedIn. And I'm not sure how it came across my feed, but I clicked in the job description and I found it to be incredibly exciting. And a lot of the tasks in the job description are things that I'm motivated to do more of. And I've always really respected Wells Fargo. So while I'm not really looking for a new role, after reading through this job description and then going to your website and just reading a little bit about what's going on with you as an organization today, I felt compelled to pursue this. So that's how you can answer this question, right? I established leverage, I let them know that they're the exception, and I also threw in there that the things in the job description are things that I'm motivated to do and I'm qualified for. If you can do this, you'll nail that question. The next question is, why did you choose this role? So basically they're saying, okay, we have a lot of open positions. Why did this position specifically call to you? And the key here is to talk about that you're qualified, right? You want to lay out the qualifications and what you've done in the past that makes you a great fit for this role, but then ideally, you would also talk about a differentiator. So if there's something that you have in your position that most other qualified applicants don't have, this is a great place to lay that out. For example, for myself, I work in talent acquisition and I've worked on the agency and the corporate side. So when I'm interviewing for a role, I could say, that I've been able to see the industry from both vantage points. That's something I could say. So I could talk about my experience, how I'm qualified, but then add in. And then one of the things that I think also makes me unique as a candidate is I have both A and B. So that allows you to show, here's why I'm super interested. Here's why I chose this, but also here's why I'm an exceptional fit. And if you can do that, you will nail this interview question. Now, this next question is, what do you know about us? And this is actually a really common interview question. When I was a corporate recruiter, I would always ask, what do you know about our company? And there's a few reasons recruiters do this, but mostly it's to gauge your level of interest, seriousness, and preparation. So we're not looking for anything specific, right? You don't need to recite an entire Wikipedia page, but we are looking for you to be informed and there to be passion in your voice. So to prepare for this question, my recommendation is go to the About Us section on Wells Fargo's website, read through that, make a few notes of things that are compelling to you, and then when you're answering this question, take anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds to talk through what you know about Wells Fargo and what stood out. So you can talk about some recent events, you can talk about some of the things they're doing that are noteworthy, you can talk about just general history of the organization, but make sure there is passion there. If you recite flawlessly information about the organization, but it comes off as if you're disinterested or you're not passionate about the organization, that's not necessarily nailing the interview question. So go there, find some things that are intriguing, 30 to 45 seconds, and tell it in a way in which there's some passion, there's some excitement and enthusiasm in your voice. The next question is describe your ideal working environment. To answer this question flawlessly for Wells Fargo, you really need to do three things. One, I think there needs to be some authenticity in your answer, right? So you want to talk about what really makes things a good fit for you. The second thing you want to do is you don't want to talk down on previous employers. So it can be really easy to say, there's been some past employers where we had a team environment and it was great. And then I had a few others where we really didn't get to work as a team and I just didn't like working there as much. There's no need to add in the negative. Talk about the positive. So if you want to reference a previous employer, feel free to do that. I probably wouldn't do that, but what I certainly would not do is talk down on a previous employer as a point of contrast. There's no need to do that, and it doesn't serve you as a candidate. Lastly, one of the cultural expectations Wells Fargo has is build high-performing teams. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells you they've focused on being part of a high-performing team. So the perfect way to answer this question is to incorporate your desire to be a part of a high-performing team, because that's a great way to collaborate and you find it to be motivating to be in that environment. If you played sports growing up, you can say, I've always been a part of sports teams growing up. So for me, one of the things I really enjoy in my professional career is being a part of a high-performing team and being able to collaborate with like-minded, talented individuals. That is motivating to me. If you say that, you're going to crush this interview question. The next question is, how do you deal with rejection or harsh words? Now, it's really important to do one thing here. You want to let them know that you appreciate feedback, right? So whatever you say, whatever words come out here, at the end of it, what they need to walk away with is that, okay, Ben is a person who likes feedback, appreciates feedback, and then acts on it. So let me just give you an example of how I might answer this question as a candidate. Well, to be honest, I know that people have different styles of communicating, and sometimes you can get feedback and it's pretty friendly and it's constructive, and sometimes you get it and it's a bit harsh. But the reality is, no matter what form it comes in, it is really beneficial. I'm the type of person who loves feedback. I want to get better and I want to get improved, and we all have blind spots. So when someone gives me feedback, I really appreciate it. Even if it's a bit harsh and it comes off like that, that might just be their delivery. But usually at the core of that, they want you to get better. So I'm really appreciative when I get any sort of feedback, whether it's critical or positive in nature, because it provides me an opportunity to improve. Now, if you answer it like that, it's a great question. Or a great answer. You're being really positive. You're also talking about your desire to improve as a professional. Who wouldn't want that? And your ability not to take it personally, but instead allow it to make you better. It's exactly what they're looking for. The next question is, do you use any of our products or services? Now, if you do, this is a slam dunk. It's so easy. You want to say, yes, I do, and for this long, and I've been really satisfied because of blank. Easy, right? That's a super good question. Now, if you don't use any of their products, I would say, one, don't lie, right? Because some of that's verifiable. But just be honest here, right? And be like, I don't currently, but I have in the past, if you have in the past. Or, I don't currently, but I have really strong respect for your brand and your products, etc. I think the most important thing here is to not get caught off guard. Because if you don't know this question's coming, it might shock you a bit, and you might have a tendency to fumble over your words, and you might have a tendency to lie about it and be like, yes, and then they're like, oh, which one? And then you're caught, and you don't want to do that. You want to be authentic. It's okay to not use their products. It's not okay to lie about it in the interview and have them feel like, yeah, I don't think he was telling the truth there. That's way worse of an outcome than you saying, no, I don't use any of your products currently. So I would say if you do use their products, be prepared to talk about it, for how long you've used them and what your experience is and how it's been positive. And if you don't, just prepared to say it honestly, and maybe follow it up with the respect you have for the brand. The next question is, mention a difficult goal that you have met. So what they're basically here is doing a few things. They want to know about your accomplishment, but they also want to gauge what you consider to be challenging or difficult. So when you're answering this question, it's important to do a few things. One, the goal has to actually be difficult. You can't give them something that's like normal job responsibility, because then it's going to make them question, well, is that what you think is difficult? The second thing you need to do is you need to talk through in a detailed and comprehensive way what you did without going too long or being too short. I would recommend using the STAR technique. So that's situation, task, action, result. Typically, you use that technique for behavioral interview questions, but for a question like this, it also makes sense. Give them the situation you were in, give them the task that you had to accomplish, give them your action, what was the action you took to accomplish the goal, and lastly, what was the result? And specifically with a question like this, you want to quantify the impact. So if at the end result, there was a certain dollar amount saved or revenue generated, you want to share that because that allows them to imagine what you'd be able to do for their organization. Speaking of behavioral interview questions, I made this video here. This video here gives you 5 behavioral interview questions that Wells Fargo also asks in their interview process. I didn't cover them today because they're a beast in of themselves, but they're incredibly important. So I'm done here, but I'll see you over there and I'll teach you how to answer those questions so you can increase the likelihood of you getting an offer.